Hopefully you can all see. I'm having some technical difficulties. Anyway, hopefully you can see the screen. It's a woman pilot in a plane. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the fall session, the second part of this fall session. I wanted to review this idea. Some of you were on this last call, but I didn't have a picture of the pilot in the cabin, in the cockpit. I call this the pre-flight check-in, and I'm going to be referring to this idea a lot during this next session because there's so much metaphorical meaning to it. I used to work for an airline, and I used to love the ritual before we took off for flight. The pilots, there's usually two, sometimes more, depending on the size of the plane, would do their pre-flight check. They would walk around the outside of the plane checking it. Then they would come in the cabin, the cockpit, and as you can see, there's all these, gadgets and gears that they have to go through, and they check it amongst themselves. They double check, cross check to make sure everything's ready to go. And then the in-flight crew, which I was part of, was there to make sure everybody was safe. We were getting ready for the flight, making sure there was food and all that kind of stuff, and making sure the bathrooms work. So we worked as a unit, and during the flight, the pilots were mostly in the cockpit. They would come out ever so often, and then they were kind of on autopilot while they were flying. But the idea here is that the pilot is really our brain, and the brain will control, has front seat to how we're going to feel. And the fuselage, I look at it as our body, because the body's going to tell us, oh, I'm cold, I need some more food, things like that. So this metaphorically connecting the body and the mind together. And this helps us to check in. We need to do a pre-flight check-in for ourselves every day, because in that pre-flight check, we'll be able to acknowledge how we're feeling, and then knowing what we need to do or not do during the day. And I think if we don't do that, it doesn't give us a chance to really understand how we're feeling physically and emotionally. And then we just go throughout our day kind of haphazardly. So this pre-flight check can be considered a meditation. If you're comfortable with one pointedness, to go into meditation, or if you would just like to use the quietude in the morning, then you could just use this as a check-in for yourself. How are you feeling? And that's what we're going to do this morning. This whole next session is all going to be about strengthening the immune system, calming inflammation that's caused from stress, and movement that's going to support our lungs, which is greatly affected by this season as the weather starts to get cooler. And we have to come to believe that caring for ourselves is not an act of self-indulgence, but caring for ourselves is an act of survival. Especially as we're going through this pandemic, we really have got to pay attention to how we feel physically, emotionally every single day. The morning's probably the best time to do it because we have not started our day. It's a little bit quieter. But of course, the pre-flight check you can do throughout your day. I flew sometimes 4 or 5 flights in a day, and we went through the same ritual, checking the flight, checking the outside, the inside of the plane. So this is not just once a day. You could do it as often as you need to. So think of this time in the morning of this practice to check in with yourself, this pre-flight. And this idea of the pre-flight is a way to help you navigate your day. You have complete control of how you want to feel during the day. It could be a good time for you to just check in with things that you need to do today. What flight do you want to take? Where do you want to go today? What do you want to do today? So begin to close your eyes as you find your comfortability in your seat, in your quietude seat, in your meditation seat, in your space that maybe you're creating for yourself to check in. This is your moment to check in. We'll first start with your physical body. How does your physical body feel today? What do you need today? What does your body feel? And it changes every day. It can change moment to moment, our body, but usually in the morning, we'll get a really good cue of how our body's feeling. So, how does your physical body feel today? And then ask yourself, what does your physical body need today? Or what does your physical body not need today? And then come into your emotional body. How are you feeling emotionally today? This morning, right now? And then the breath, which we'll be focusing on a lot this session, especially about the lungs. But for now, the breath, how are you breathing? Do you feel your breath is full and deep? Maybe it's shallow. The breath will be the bridge between your mind and body. It will be an indicator of how you're really feeling. You can manipulate the breath by doing a ratio of breath. So you would inhale for 4 counts, you would hold between 2 and 4 counts, and then you exhale for a count of 4. You would hold, and then you would inhale again for a count of 4, hold, and exhale for a count of 4. So work on that a little bit. I want you to start expanding the lungs with this breath, of this in and out breath. Inhaling for a count of 4, there's a pause before the exhalation, and then you exhale for a count of 4. You hold, and then continue on. This is called box breathing. And then begin to notice how you're feeling by this practice of sitting for a few minutes. Taking the time to check in with yourself. Let your brain be the pilot that's going to navigate your day. So you don't crash and burn. You've checked in with your gear, your body, your mind. So maybe for the rest of the day, you can be on autopilot as your body checks in with yourself periodically. If you're hungry, if you're cold. And then set an intention for this flight you're going to take today. Today, I invite into my life, could be smooth landing. Today, I invite into my life. And of course, lift the corners of your mouth up so you create this intention with some upward vibration. Set the intention with a happy tone or positive tone. Today, I invite into my life however you want to navigate your day. And then warm the hands together, rub the hands together, create some warmth within the palms. And then bring them onto your eyelids as you soothe your eyes. Open the eyes into the palms as you let a little bit of light in, and then slowly move the hands away from the face as you slowly open the shade to a new day, a new morning.